Yes, I regret to say I've been watching Q&A again. No greater love has any television host shown. I watched it to spare you the pain. Now, as usual, they make sure they have one right of centre person on the panel, usually someone to mock or someone who agrees with the Green Left on at least one topic. This time it was former organisational treasurer of the Federal Liberal Party, Michael Yabsley. He's a smart and experienced bloke, and they chose him this time, apparently, because he came out this year, which turns out to be another way of winning approval from the public broadcaster. But Yabsley's strong and sensible arguments on China were not so welcome.
Hamish, let's call this for what it is. I mean, there's a bully in the school, and the bully's name is China. You know, when you look at what China has done in the South China Sea, almost to reinvent the geography of that key shipping area, Samoa, the Solomons. It's recently opened an embassy in Kiribati. Now, these are not. This
is not necessarily evidence of bullying, is it?
How dare anyone call out the bullies from Beijing, hey? Michael, let me give you the strong tip. Well, I'm certain you know it anyway, but if you want to avoid resistance on the ABC, train your sights on Washington rather than Beijing. Still, given Australia's relationship with China is the issue of the moment, and sorting China's place in the world is the global challenge of the century, who do you think Q&A would find to plot our difficult path forward? Well, this man, of course.
I'm gonna hit some Hong Kong matches all night long.
Yes, indeed. Former Cold Chisel frontman Jimmy Barnes. A terrific rock and roll singer and a good songwriter, but I reckon we've probably produced a few better geostrategic analysts over the years.
Maybe it was the way we did it. I think they've certainly reacted badly to it, but I think, we can't just expect, if we're Australians and we say, this is wrong, we've got to bloody stand up to it, that might not culturally not be the same way to speak to the Chinese.
What is it with the woke types on the ABC? Every time Australia disagrees with another country, apparently it's all our fault, even when that other country is a murderous dictatorship that flaunts international law, crushes human rights, detests democracy and is unapologetic about unleashing a pandemic on the world. It seems Jimmy saves his screaming for the concert stages and prefers gentle whispers in diplomacy. Let's hear more about his strategy for handling this crucial but troubled relationship.
This is the nature of things. I think to fight it, you can't do it by being arrogant back. I think there has to be some sort of, we have to talk as groups, as opposed to, Australia standing up to China is not going to do anything. But if the rest of the world, and we talk and we reason, with people, I mean, it's a very complicated.
That it is, Jimmy, that it is. Still, we can't rely on Q&A for any more problem solving in 2020. That was the last episode for the year. Monday nights will be silent for a while at last.
Silent night, holy night.
There we go, Rebecca. I got to find out what you think of Jimmy Barnes as the China analyst.
Well, I've got to say I'd much rather listen to Kay-San than to listen to Jimmy talking about anything at all. I mean, the problem with Q&A and the problem more broadly with the ABC is that they are given huge resources that, Sky could only dream of having this sort of money, and then they serve up something like this, which is absolutely trivialising what is a crucial issue for Australia. The bullying of the way China is bullying Australia is a fact. I mean, that's not the part to debate. The point, obviously, to debate is what to do about it. But I think the Australian people deserve to hear a much more considered response. I was talking to Andrew Robb, former minister, the man who negotiated a free trade agreement last night. And I have to say, so much more interesting and informative than this sort of, it's frankly insulting. But it's a really important issue, and the ABC gets a huge amount of money. It really has to do better than this.
Louise, trivialising is a pretty good word. It's the ABC. It seems a very tabloid approach. Now, you work for a tabloid newspaper, unashamedly sort of populist, but this is supposed to be some sort of serious discussion, isn't it?
It is, and it's important to bring it to the level of the average person in the street, as I mentioned before. And I think James Morrow, one of my colleagues on the DT, sort of encapsulated it when he said that the whole Chinese Twitter war, which they've now embarked on, has succeeded in dividing us as a country. So you've got the Conservatives and centrists on one side, and you've got the people on the left who are saying, well, blame Australia first for everything, which I think Hamish has beautifully encapsulated in that particular episode of Q&A.
Yeah, that is absolutely it. They love to blame Australia, and Jimmy Barnes was in on that as well. It's extraordinary. I would have thought we might have found some other people to speak about that. Let's talk about the social media aspect of this. Of course, it was really inflamed. The relationship with China has been troubled for a long while. They've been retaliating against Australia all year through trade and other means. But this tweet that was issued by a Chinese official this week really escalated the situation. It's a disgusting, concocted image of an Australian soldier holding a bloodied knife to the throat of an Afghan child. Rebecca, requests from the Prime Minister directly to Twitter to pull this down, to censor it, were denied.
This is absolutely extraordinary. What we've seen this year with Twitter, the censorship of President Donald Trump has been extraordinary. You know, anything has been that he said or tweeted has been construed as, oh, that's inciting violence. For example, if he says something like, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Oh, well, that's inciting violence. That's terrible. We have to flag that. We have to hide it. You know, when the New York Post reported facts about corrupt or seemingly inappropriate behaviour by Hunter Biden, the son of, you know, seeming a presumptive president, Twitter wouldn't run it at all. But now we have an obviously fake, deeply offensive, deeply inflammatory, genuinely dangerous tweet. Dangerous in the sense that this is the sort of thing that will inspire some lunatic Islamist to take revenge. I genuinely think this is a problem. Will they touch it? Oh, no way. When the Ayatollah says he wants to wipe Israel off the face of the map, will Twitter do anything? Oh, no, they say that's just saber rattling. I mean, it's appalling behaviour. You know what, if the double standard is so breathtaking, you know, if they didn't have the double standard, they'd have no standards at all.
You're spot on. It's so jaundiced, so obvious. There's so much hypocrisy. The double standard is really quite sickening. But at the other end of the spectrum, Louise, you have the Chinese social media site WeChat. And when Prime Minister Scott Morrison responded to all this through WeChat with the truth, with a message saying Australia doesn't have anything against the Chinese people, it's just against these official actions, that, of course, was censored. That was taken down, Louise.
I know, it's crazy. And you think they'd be promoting that, you know, lock, stock and barrel, because that's actually a positive message from Australia about China and our relationship with them. So, you know, it just seems as one rule for them, one rule for us. I mean, really, they just want propaganda. They just want pro-China. They don't want any sort of leverage or any sort of reasoned thought around what's happening in Australian society.